Good morning, everyone. This is Doug Davis, principal broker at Karambie Realty, and here for another session of Ask Doug. And today, I'd like to go over a question I get all the time about doing back-to-back rentals for property management. So for your home or condo that you're renting, or you have a property manager, or you do it yourself, what do you do? How do you do your back-to-backs, or do you have a back-to-back? Okay, and what I mean by that is, let's say you have a end of May lease that's ending, and then you have a June 1 new lease starting. So do you do that, or do you put a week gap in between? Or what if you miss? Then you might have a vacancy for a month or more. So how do you handle those issues? What do you do? So here's the concepts that you have to think about. So the tenant moves out and they're supposed to clean it. But do they? Do they always? Is it always perfect? So if it's not perfect, how are you going to do it if the people are moving in the next day? So you have a vendor that's going to come in when? In the morning on June 1st, and the tenant shows up in the afternoon. And maybe you can coordinate that. What if the vendor gets sick or something? So a vendor delay will, could be the cleaner, could be a fix-up man, could be the appliance guy, might be repairing something, you might be painting something, you might be cleaning the carpet because they didn't, but then the carpet's going to be wet for a day, so you can't have them come in on that day. Better not. The first tenant could end up being a holdover, and they don't move out for 2 months. But then you have a contractual obligation to the next tenant that's moving in on June 1st. But the tenant doesn't move out until sometime in August. You got a problem. And then you might have legal issues in that case. Maybe the tenant that's moving in on June 1st ended their tenancy, and they moved everything out of their apartment, and it's all in a truck, and they have no place to go. So they go to a hotel. Who's picking up that tab? And don't forget, if they're going into a condo high-rise, you almost always have to reserve and pad the elevator. And if you miss your slot, which might be half day, the tenant's moving out and tenant moving in, so you got the elevator issue. So okay, and then what about expectations? You might not be able to do such a thorough inspection with a prospective tenant that's going to move in on June 1st. In terms of looking at the place, maybe you tell the tenant that you're going to paint this room or that room, you're going to put new carpet in such and such a room, you're going to replace such and such appliance before they take occupancy. And then you do or you don't do what you said, or the expectation was skewed or forgotten and reinvented. So for example, you're going to paint a wall and you're going to paint it such and such a color, and they move in and they say they don't like that color. You told me it's going to be this other color. Or you only painted this wall, you said you were going to paint the room. And that kind of stuff usually is never in writing, so maybe it should be. So be careful of that. Okay, and this is really key and critical is cost cost to this process. So can you ever have 100% occupancy? Do you have a gap between the one tenant to the next? So we found here, at least in Hawaii, in Honolulu, that you really need to start advertising 60 days before the end of the lease to get the new tenant. So apparently, Hawaii's tenants start their research into what they're going to do next 60 days before their lease ends and they make their move. So you need to be advertising before it's ended. So you need to have a clause in your rental agreement that says that they need to give 60-day notice, regardless of the lease just simply ends, and they're supposed to move out unless they tell you that they wish to extend. But if they're moving out, you're never really sure if they're going to renew or not. So we need to know 60 days ahead of time. So we put that in our rental agreements. It's really critical. You need them to work with you, your existing tenant to work with you to know what they're planning on doing at the end of the lease, continue or they actually can move. So if you start advertising 60 days out, you're able to catch it and have perhaps no vacancy. Okay, so that's that. If you do the back-to-back, then you have those issues which I just discussed. So maybe you should not have the people move in on the first, but give yourself a few days, maybe a week of vacancy. That's loss of income, but for protection. To be able to get other things done or to scramble to get another cleaner or carpet guy if something happens to them, they're scheduling, as I say, vendor delay of some kind. And then maybe in your rental agreement, you put, if it's back-to-back or very close, or they're still living there, so you really don't have 100% surety of what they're going to do. Put in a clause that says that this offer to lease on June 1st, June 5th is subject to existing tenants vacating appropriately and in a timely manner. So that at least you have something that says, well, yes, June 1st, but we did say it's subject to the tenant moving. We had all the expectations they would move, but they didn't. So sorry. But you have something rather than nothing, and then you're exposed legally to non-performance. So anyway, those are some things to think about. This seemingly simple topic, but it's all about having the proper timing to pull it off appropriately and thinking ahead, thinking of worst case scenarios so that you're prepared for it and you express those forward thinking thoughts to the tenant so they're aware, and then you can talk as you come up closer to the date to see what, do they have moving boxes? Are they moving? Do you have the expectation that they'll be out in time? That sort of thing. So I hope that helps. I get this question quite a bit from our little book of property management and other people asking, well, what should we do about this or that? Okay, that's it. Hope that was enjoyable, and hope to hear more questions from you guys. Have a great day. Thanks.